All right, so my name is Brent Hammett-Ner. I head up the marketing efforts for the US here with Dooap. And I'm joined by my colleague Anna Tujanen, and she's a chief product officer. And Austin, Dooap's based in Austin, Texas, and we're an AP automation company, of course. And really what the main topics that we like to speak on are, there's three of them. The first is speaking on some of the challenges that exist in accounts payable, and then we'll go ahead and move over to the benefits of AP automation, and then finally conclude with a demo of the Dooap platform. And so to kick things off, when we look at accounts payable automation, we look at accounts payable, the framework of it, and there's really three large scale ideas. First, simply you receive the invoices. Second, you process and approve the invoices. And then finally, you pay those invoices. And while it's mostly a straightforward process, unfortunately, there are some challenges that various stakeholders face when working with it. And so there was actually a survey that was done by Level Research late last year where they asked AP folks what the top three biggest pain points were that they experienced in their workflow process. And just by observing the chart, really just look at the top two, which seem to have the majority. Those two are manual data entry and then the manual routing of invoices for approval. And so the common theme between those two, of course, is the manual aspect. And when you look at really any repeating or manual process, then it's usually a good opportunity to be able to try to find a way to innovate on that or automate. And so that's really where Dooap exists, and where Dooap lies is providing that automated service to appease those particular challenges. And so as we move into the benefits of AP automation, there's three main ones, and those are saving time and money, the scalability aspect of it, and then finally the increased visibility into the AP process. And so specifically for the saving time aspect, typically with an AP staff member, they might spend a certain number of minutes or a certain amount of time per invoice to process this. And with an AP automation solution, where this data entry gets done for you, and so this can be done, or so some of that time that the AP staff is spending can be reallocated to more strategic areas. Now, with regards to saving the money aspect, there was actually a colleague just sent over a link to a study, and that study was saying that the average invoice cost was between about $10 and $50 per invoice to process that. And so with an AP automation solution, would actually drop that to somewhere around the $1 per invoice range. And so there's significant savings in that aspect. And then also the reducing delayed fees. Invoices they're not going to get lost. They're all going to be moved from paper into data. And then also you're able to see kind of where the bottleneck is as an AP supervisor. And then finally the prevention of fraud. There's an audit trail feature that Anna will show in the demo, and really that helps out just by, like I said, seeing the whole process and ensuring that there's not those duplicate invoices. And then the second benefit is the scalability. So when we think of an organization as it grows, and more and more invoices start coming in, more AP staff members are needed to be able to handle this effort, which could affect other areas in the organization, like in HR or staffing. And so by the automation, or by automating, as the number of invoices increases, nothing really changes in the AP automation solution, and the unit cost would actually drop, dependent on as the volume increases. And then finally, the increased visibility. So this was similar to what I mentioned earlier, with being able to have the reporting aspect, and then also really observe, as an AP supervisor, observing each step in that accounts payable process and seeing where the invoice is at a particular junction in time really helps prevent those bottlenecks. And so those are the main benefits. I'll actually go ahead and pass it over to Anna now, and she'll go ahead and showcase what the Dooap platform looks like.
Thank you, Brent. So my name is Anna, and I'll show you today what Dooap is all about. I'll do mandatory 3-minute slideshow torture still, but followed by that is the Dooap web application, and then the mobile app. And in the end, I'll just have a short peek of the standard Power BI reports that we have. I'll leave some room in the end for a Q&A. But Dooap AP solution includes basically 3 major functions: the invoice receiving, Dooap web and mobile application, and then the integration to Dynamics. We support several channels for receiving invoices, and a crucial part of an AP efficiency project is to streamline those channels and automate. For the fastest, cheapest, and the easiest option, we offer a capture service. That includes basically the mailroom operations, OCR, teaching those vendor templates, and validation of the OCR accuracy, and making sure that all those mandatory fields are there that we have agreed with you. You will basically forward your email invoices to the scanning address, paper invoices to the PO box, and if you're receiving any electronic format invoices, or for example, for a vendor portal, we're able to handle those also. What you get is fully captured invoices which don't need any manual work. This process model has been actually widely popular all around the world in countries where e-invoices are already a majority, but you never quite get rid of all the paper. The transition in other parts of the world has often been related to a government mandate, and with this model, all the invoices end up as e-invoices in your point of view, no matter if the sender is a mom and pop store or someone bigger. And speaking of which, Dooap is e-invoice ready, and we are involved with the Federal Reserve-led project to build a US e-invoice network. If the scanning service is not to your liking, we can also set up an in-house OCR solution, which also has all the standard interfaces and integration included in the project. We will take a look at the overall integration in a second, but first I'll talk about what Dooap application does. So this is the part that we're going to see in the demo, and Dooap is the web application is where the actual AP process happens. And this means the coding, routing, matching, approving invoices. In the Dooap mobile app, users can code and approve invoices on the go too. And also included in the offering that we have is, for example, a long-term archiving solution and Power BI reports for management KPIs and to support the AP day-to-day work. And now for the integration part. So Dooap was built for Dynamics 365. Throughout the process, we make sure that there is no outdated data or duplicate master data anywhere. We read the current situation directly from your Dynamics, and after the invoices have been approved, they transfer to Dynamics automatically. Here in the picture is some examples of the most important master data that Dooap reads from Dynamics. All the invoice information in Dooap, like comments and audit logs and the invoice picture, is then linked to the vendor transaction, and it's easily accessible from Dynamics. After the implementation, we make constantly sure that the interfaces stay up to date, no matter how often there is a Microsoft update, and that can be a huge benefit compared to maintaining these interfaces yourself. New features are published to Dooap every 2 months, and whenever you want to update your Dynamics to a new version, you have the compatible package delivered to your LCS asset library. They are always pre-tested also by your dedicated support consultant. Good, and now to the actual business. So I will now exit the PowerPoint and open my Dooap application. Here you should be seeing my D365 currently. and I will then log in to the Dooap website. There we go. Invoice handling page here is the main view for all the users. The invoices and functions available that are visible for me, they vary based on the role and company rights of whoever is logged in. I am now playing the role of AP specialist, and what I see here is my work queue of invoices. I can handle them in the system suggested order of urgency, or I can follow my own priorities. Multiple AP users can work on the same queue in the same time, and you can see the other users online, and you don't collide with them handling those same invoices. Multiple companies can, of course, be handled in the same view, as the user access, the purchase orders, the account structure, and vendor table follow the company said on the invoice. Good. I'll now start with my first invoice. So what has happened in the background is that in the past 24 hours, we have delivered this invoice for scanning. And I'll close myself from the upper corner. Well, I'll leave it there. So this invoice has been scanned in the scanning service, the capture service, and we have extracted all the agreed information from that invoice. The header information here is a combination of what has been extracted and what is in your vendor table in Dynamics. I don't have everything visible here, but for example, the method of payments, the payment terms, everything that there is in your Dynamics vendor table is applied to the invoice and used for the invoice details. This invoice is a PO invoice, and the PO number was also extracted from the invoice. That PO number has been matched with the POs available for this specific vendor in this company, and it has also retrieved us the product receipt that is related with this PO. With that information, we have pulled in the information pulled in the details of the line level that is available from the product receipt and from the PO for this invoice matching. We try to auto select the product receipt based on, for example, the total amount. The workflow, which is visible for the invoice up here, can be determined based on multiple criteria. In this case, for example, I want to have the workflow, or I have set up the workflow to retrieve the information from the requester of the requester from the PO. So if this invoice would not be matching, I would automatically get it routed to the requester or the orderer or both. In this case, this PO invoice is matching, so I don't have to do any changes to it, but I could apply, for example, if there would be a quantity or price discrepancy, or if I need to add a miscellaneous charge for a missing freight or so. Also here in the matching area, I have a lot of hidden fields that I can open if I want to utilize those in my matching, and it will remember the selections that I make for my visible fields. All in all, if everything is okay, I don't want to make any changes to that. What AP would do is to accept the invoice. It will move forward in the workflow. In this case, it would skip the approving step because the invoice is matching, of course. But the AP gets then the next invoice in queue for them to handle next. This invoice here is a non-PO invoice. Again, all that information has been extracted from the invoice picture. If there would be any changes that I would like to do, I'm free to do so. So, for example, if there would be due date that we want to follow instead of what was mentioned on the invoice, I can do those kind of changes. Or if we have, for example, pulled the cash discount code from the vendor master, which we're not applying this time, I can make those changes too. This invoice, like I said, is a non-PO invoice. So the matching area has changed to coding area. I have defaulted some coding lines for this invoice from the vendor defaults. And what I can use is, again, if I have vendor defaults in Dynamics, for example, for the main account or for those dimensions, I can also pull that information in. If I want to do any changes with the coding, or if I want that my approvers are in charge of the coding, I can set up those rules there, that what has to be in place and at which point of the process. For other functions that I have, I, for example, have here an audit log to see all those changes that in any part of the process has been done to the invoice. So let's, for example, say that I started wondering, why is the due date already passed, even though I just got the invoice? With this audit trail, I can see that, well, my colleague already received this a week ago, and they have done some changes. They have been changing the workflow from what was originally on the invoice, and it has probably gone to the wrong workflow before it has today been retrieved and is now on my work queue. Good. To see those codings more in more detail, I can of course see the description side of those. But as there isn't any changes that I want to do on the workflows, or for example, to change the full workflow preset, I again am ready to accept this invoice and move it forward in the workflow. My third invoice that I have has errors in it. I can see what kind of errors there is. I can see that we have a person in the workflow, for example, who has been defaulted, but they're not allowed to approve invoices this big. And I don't have a coding. So I have a warning that there is mandatory dimensions that need to be filled, but they haven't been filled. But for other kind of problems that we might see here is that this invoice does have a PO number, but for some reason we haven't been able to extract that. If that is the case, and this invoice has been recognized as a non-PO, or maybe I have a vendor default that even though there might be a PO number there, I want that to be defaulted to non-PO, I can quickly and easily change this invoice type to a totally different. I don't need to take it out and import it again. I can just quickly just change the type, and then I'm able to handle this invoice as a PO. I would be able to then again choose from the purchase orders that there is available for this vendor, and hopefully I would have a product receipt that is correspondent. That probably is the reason why it was a non-PO, because we don't have a PO with that number for this vendor. Good. Other functions that we are getting for example, for the workflow automation is a machine learning functionalities, where we're utilizing all that information of the invoices that have already been handled before. And this is a feature that is going to be live in our May release. And this is how it looks like, that when we are handling those invoices, even though we have presets and we have the rules on who is allowed to approve the invoices, and we are able to, for example, use the position hierarchy in those approval matrices. But here also I have the ability to see the system suggested machine learning probability for the workflow. Perfect. What I will do next is to open my mobile app, and just a quick second. This is the scary moment also, always, because I need to share my my screen. And just a second, bear with me. There it is. And I can see it there. Perfect. Good. So here is my phone, and here is my Dooap approval app. There we go. The mobile app is meant for the approvers on the go, or just because it's so much more convenient to approve the invoices from the mobile. When I open the app, it shows those invoices that are waiting for me to be handled, and I'm able to see the general information of each invoice card. I have 3 invoices that are ready to be approved, and when I swipe left, I'm able to cycle through those invoices and see the general details that there is. This invoice is already due 3 days ago, so if I already know from these front page details that, hey, this is okay, I always get this invoice, I get it from Henry, and I know that Henry is doing it good, I could approve it by swiping right. For most of the time, I though want to have some more information about it. So by clicking that invoice card, I can see the full details of the invoice. I can see the invoice picture, I can zoom to the invoice picture, I can see the attachments if there is any. I can see the workflow. I can send it back to Henry, for example. I have to put a comment in when I send it back, or I can send it back to AP. I can also add comments, and what is the most important part, I can add a coding. Also in the mobile, there is already an existing coding line here, but also in the mobile, I am able to do the coding exactly how our account structure in Dynamics is requiring me to do it. So it is validating that I only pick correct dimensions and only pick correct dimension combinations. Coding is also possible for a project, so I don't necessarily have to code to a main account. I can, of course, use also a project. Good. Other functions that we have in the mobile, I also have the ability to see previous invoices, where I'm able to look for reference from previous invoices, how this was coded the last time. And what I can also do is I can apply a delegate for my vacation time. So I can do it that from here, even though if I forget to do it, also the AP admins can apply that from the desktop side. For the final parts, I'm going to show quickly our Power BI reports. I'm going to first show these from our mobile, because it's convenient to look at the Power BI reports from here. Included in our implementation, you get our standard Power BI reports, which basically give visibility to in more detail to the process in hand. I'm able to see those invoices that are already due, who has those, what is our process efficiency, who are our the vendors that invoice us the most, what kind of user setups we have in the system, what kind of approving rights we have in the system. Many different kind of reports based on our existing customer requests. Good. I'll just for the last view, I'll show that quick peek of the Power BI reports from the desktop side too. And in this time, in today, we weren't able to, of course, deep dive that deeply. But if there is something that you would want to see as a customized demo for just you, just go to our website and you're able to book a demo, or, for example, start a free trial. that was all from my part. And do we have any questions?
I don't see any in the queue. Tom, you want to take it away now, or?
Yeah, so after it finishes all that with Dooap, we'll have a interface and integration into Dynamics, correct? And it would close out the process, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So after the approvals have been done, after the people have approved the invoices, or there has been a three-way matching based automatic approval, the invoices will automatically transfer to Dynamics.
Okay, thank you. We were able to, in a very short 90 minutes today, go through some elements within the existing product that Microsoft has done. I think there was some excitement over the process automation in the vendor payment journal, as well as the batch invoice in workflow option for performance enhancements. But the next two presenters really kind of showed what AP automation is all about. There's some very common items between the two. You saw where they, we all have to receive invoices from vendors. We have to get that information from the invoice into some sort of electronic record. And then, we have to get that interface with Dynamics. And they both use concepts and words to start getting used to, or all three of them really, about machine learning and artificial intelligence, and how that's starting to get baked into a lot of the automation solutions. So, but I also think they gave us a great contrast for AP automation about the different ways that you can go about accomplishing that. If you go back to the AKA concept, you could start with a third-party document management system. You could do your OCR there. So if you already have an enterprise solution, you could start from there. You have some tools out of the box that you can use. They also have some ways that you can work with your partners to use Power Apps. And then just also third-party tools like that doc parser to do those types of things. And then we segued over to Dooap, who really gave us just kind of things where the difference is, where you interface it with Dynamics and when you do it, and where the workflow resides. So you could see a lot of the activities happening within the product, and what it does is it saves you having to figure out what's a good mapping tool. What is the software that I need for this third party? We don't have an enterprise document management system in our environment, and we don't really want to invest in one. We have lots of other projects and priorities. Here's a way to do this through an AP automation service. So I think that gave us a great contrast, but and also a great underlying fundamental of the concept. So I appreciate everybody's attention today. It was a nice, good job for all our presenters of staying on time, and nice questions, good questions, and I'll see everybody, I guess, tomorrow.
We will.
If there's anything else you want to close out with, Julie?
No, just to say, same time, same place tomorrow, and we'll have a whole new batch of interesting presenters and interesting topics to talk about. So thank you all, and just want to let you know that we really got a great number of folks on the phone. At one point, we had almost 100, so that's really, really a great gathering for the special interest group. So I appreciate you all being involved. And
thank you very much to our presenters. These were very informative and very useful presentations today. So, and more to come, more exciting stuff to come tomorrow. I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow afternoon.
All right. With that, I'll close the webinar. Have a great afternoon. Bye, everyone.